All right, guys, today we want to talk about why your lower neck might hurt. And, there's a lot of different reasons of why you may get pain in the lower cervical spine. But posture and positioning can definitely play a key role. And so today we want to talk a little bit about some of that positioning and what effect that might have. So when we take a look at our guy, and don't judge my drawings, there's a reason I became a therapist, not an artist. But when we look at our guy, we got head position, rib cage position, and sacrum. And we can see that there's curves in the spine, right? In the lumbar spine, we have a forward curve. In the thoracic spine, we should actually round into flexion a little bit, kyphosis just a little bit. And then we get that reversal of the curve in the cervical spine. So a lot of times what we see happening is when we end up with lower neck pain, we get pain right at that junction where we transition from this posterior curve into the other curve, right? One of the reasons we might see that is forward shoulder or excessive rounding of the mid-back. So if I kind of pull my shoulders forward and I let myself round, I end up looking down at the floor. And there's no part of me that wants to walk around with my eyes pointed down at the floor. So what my body ends up doing is bringing the eyes up onto the horizon so that my eyes are level, right? My brain wants my eyes to be level. So what this does is it ends up putting me in a position of lower cervical flexion, meaning the lower part of the neck is bent forward, and upper cervical extension where the eyes are up. And I end up with two pinch points. And I end up with a pinch point at the base of the neck, and I end up with a pinch point at the base of the skull. So this comes forward, this looks up, and I get pinched here, and I get pinched here. And we end up with neck pain that occasionally gives me some headache or base of the skull kind of pain that comes along with it. So when we go to take pressure, get the pain off of that spot, we want to do things to relieve the pain and the inflammation and the guarding that's happening there, but we also need to do some things mechanically to affect that positioning and that posture, right? And so we want to look at a couple of key spots. And I like to talk about 3 cylinders. So if we take our hips, our pelvis as one cylinder, we take our rib cage as a cylinder, our thoracic spine and our rib cage, and we take our cranium or our head as a cylinder, we want all 3 of those cylinders to be able to stack on top of one another, right? So my head is oriented over my pelvis or over my rib cage is oriented over my pelvis, and they're all 3 in plane. If I get too flexed, it's going to throw me off, right? The cylinders aren't going to point at each other. If I get too extended, they're not going to point at each other. And they do play with one another, right? If I tuck my chin, right, the tendency is to want to pull the spine in. If I overextend my pelvis, the tendency is for everything else to want to go into extension. So they definitely play with one another. And I'm not here to tell you that one is magically better than the other, but I do want you to have the ability to stack them. Right? Whether you're there all day or not, you should have the freedom to move in every different direction, in any direction you want to move. But you need to have the ability to put them over top. So if something in the hip or something in the rib cage or something in the neck is causing you to not be able to get into that neutral position or into that stacked kind of position, that might end up being a problem. So what we want to look at are all the possibilities that are causing this to get pulled forward that could create that pinch point, or causing the neck to get pulled forward that might be causing the pinch point up high or causing this to flex, and vice versa down to the pelvis. So when you talk about why your lower neck hurts, yeah, there might be something compressing and irritating you at that point, but we need to look above it and below it in order to figure out where that pressure point's coming from and what we can do to fix it. Okay? So, there's a host of different reasons, but the first thing that I try to get all my clients to do is stack the pelvis, stack the rib cage, right? We can orient those things, right? And then once you're stacked here, now make your neck long. So the idea of tucking the chin just a little bit, right? Don't go crazy. We're just tucking the chin a little bit. My ears aren't actually going to move when I tuck the chin, right? So I have an axis of rotation, right, through the ear, a rod going through the ear, if you would imagine that. And I'm going to tuck the chin so that my chin comes down in the front, I go into upper cervical flexion, and my head gets longer, my neck gets longer in the back. That's going to create space at the back of the skull, and if I lift through here, it's also going to create space in the back of the neck. So at the neck region, tuck the chin, make the neck long. Okay? In the mid-back region, there are different muscles and different guarding patterns that can pull those shoulders forward. So one of the first things that I look at, and there's multiple reasons this might be happening, but a quick check is to look at the pec, right? So the pec major and minor both run from sternum, rib cage area, and attach to the shoulder. And if they're kind of tight or overused and guarded, they can pull forward. And it's one of the quickest giveaways of things that I check, especially for getting some numbness, tingling, and things that come along with that. It's one of my first checks. So we will release the PEC. You can find some of our other YouTube videos on techniques on how to do that. We'll link those in the description. And then the last thing to check is why, or maybe are you having trouble getting that pelvis to orient? And that could be a posterior tilted pelvis where you're swayed forward and then compensating over top, or it can be an anteriorly tilted pelvis where you're an overextension and pulling that way, which causes a flare of the rib cage up. Both of those are potential scenarios that you might have to look at and something that we'll address in future videos. But our goal is to get the pelvis in a neutral position where you can overextend it, overflex it, find the middle, pull the rib cage over top to stack that, maybe look at the pec as a potential release point to help you be able to get those shoulders into a neutral position, not overextended, not overflexed. And then tuck the chin, make the back of the neck long, create some space at the base of the neck so that you quit pinching that neck. And I use this analogy all the time. You know, pain a lot of times is just like smashing your thumb in the door. If you shut your thumb in the door and you pinch it, it hurts for a second. It definitely gets sensitive to touch, and every time you bump it, you go to use it, it hurts. You bump it on something, it hurts. But as long as you quit smashing your thumb in the door and you quit using your thumb, the pain gets better, right? And the same thing will happen with the neck. If it's irritated and inflamed and those kinds of things, as long as you quit compressing it, it will get better. The difference here is it's real easy to say, okay, don't use your thumb. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what's causing that pinch point in the neck. So here's 3 things that we can look at that might be causing that pinch point. Avoid those 3 things, and I think you'll have some success at letting your neck calm down. As always, this is not medical advice. This is just general us talking about some of the things that cause neck pain. If you do want specific advice, you need to reach out to somebody, especially if you're having numbness, tingling, you're having weakness in the arm, it's getting heavy, numb, like it's falling asleep, or you're noticing a change in sensation where, when the shower water hits it, it feels different, or when you touch it, it feels different. Those are things where you need to reach out to a healthcare professional. We do offer free phone consults. Check us out at fitforfunction.com. And schedule a free phone consult. We'd be happy to talk with you. And if you're near one of our locations, we'll be happy to work with you, or of course refer you to somebody who we think can help you make those decisions on how to stack these 3 cylinders, how to release the things that might be putting pressure on those areas, and then doing something to get some blood flow and get this area moving, to get the inflammation off of that spot in your neck and get that pain to go away. If you can accomplish those goals, it should take some pressure off your neck, and most of the time it's something that we're going to be able to help you feel better. All right? That's a quick rundown on why you might have pain in your lower neck. If you have questions, ask us a question below. Shoot us an email. Visit us at fitforfunction.com. Of course, drop us a like or share with your friends or somebody that you may know that has lower neck pain. We appreciate it. It helps us grow this channel and helps us grow our business so that we can help more and more people out there get out of pain using positional things, using muscle activation without medications and crazy insurance and hurdles and all that kind of stuff that keeps us from getting high quality health care. If you need anything, let us know. We'll see you at fitforfunction.com.